France has decided to oppose the genocide charges laid against Israel at the International Court of Justice. Just like the United States and Germany, France is not rebuking any of the genocide claims laid out by South Africa. France claims that it's morally bankrupt to charge the only Jewish state with genocide. So what France is doing right now is reaffirming far-right Jewish supremacy ideology. Jewish supremacy is the idea that Jewish people can do whatever they want to non-Jews because they are God-chosen people and everyone else is inferior. For example, we've seen a top rabbi in Israel that advocated using rape as a weapon because Jews are allowed to rape non-Jews according to these extremists. But we have France that is reaffirming Jewish supremacy. We have Germany supporting Israel because they still feel bad about a Holocaust, so they're supporting Israel's Holocaust. The Western societies in this world have lost their mind. Luckily, we now have the global South that is rising up and calling out the violent hypocrisy of the West. We now have Mexico and Chile. They are launching probes at the ICC looking at Israel genocide in Gaza. Now we have a separate probe at the ICC launched by Indonesia that looks at the 70-year-old occupation of Palestine. Israel really fucked up. Now they got the entire world pissed off, and now they are going after them. So the strategy was to have South Africa go first and lay out a devastating argument against Israel. Now legal teams around the world is about to come around and hold this genocidal apartheid state accountable. What a time to be alive. We have the Western countries that are banding together in solidarity in order to throw out international law and the concept of genocide and war crimes, while the global South is demanding fair application of international law. The global South is set to expose the rules-based order as the fraudulent joke it's always been.
That they opened the pulpit up to Genocide Joe. Y'all can get mad, I don't care. And people, as he began to give his campaign speech, some protesters stood up and said, "Stop the blood in Palestine." Yeah, yeah. They said, if you're outraged by the blood of Selma and you're outraged by the blood that was spilled in this very church, then how about calling for a ceasefire in Palestine, since you giving them the weapons, you giving them the support, you giving them the money? Joe, why don't you do something about it? They marched and stood up and got kicked out of the church, and people said, we're outraged. You know, I was outraged too. How dare you use this sacred space? How dare you use this beloved pulpit? How dare you use this sacred tradition? How dare you use the words of Jesus, who overturned the tables in the temple, who was committed to overturning a Roman government, who was committed to speaking out against injustice? How dare you use this space as a shield for imperial war? How dare you use this space as a shield for violence? How dare you use this space as a shield for genocide?
Based as hell. Welcome back, my friends, my family. Welcome to Nick at Noon. There is not enough anger at the black sellouts, our ruling class. You guys think our radical leaders who was partaking in the civil rights movement, who opposed all the wars in the 60s and 70s, do you guys think they would be happy about the state of the black community where we got black sellouts supporting one of the most unhinged white supremacist ideologies that we ever seen in Zionism? There should have been way more of this. Despite that, we have the most successful Negroes among us, people like Simone Sanders. Simone Sanders is saying this. Simone Sanders says Mother Emanuel AME is hallowed ground in the AME church community, and in Charleston especially. The shock of people in the crowd at protesters yelling out while Biden was speaking from the pulpit cannot be overstated. I too couldn't believe this. People like Simone Sanders and these tap dancers are the most morally bankrupt people in our society. You use our tradition. I'm not even religious. Can you imagine how mad I would be if I was religious? That you're going to use my God to justify and rehabilitate a monster? You guys see Sabby says, I find genocide appalling. And my response was, the black church continues to sell its people out to genocide pro-police Democratic Party. And I sincerely mean this. Fuck you and anyone who uses black people to shield the genocide, and we going to war. We are going to war with these people who use our skin color, use our struggle and our trauma to prop up one of the most anti-black, violent parties and institutions in modern human history, the Democratic Party led by Joe Biden. Now, I'm going to show you guys the rest of that clip, because that's just a little bit of it. I'm going to show you guys the rest of the clip, and I'm going to show you guys how the black church is doubling down. So I'm glad that Marc Lamont Hill called these people out to their face. I want you guys to see the rest of it, because I cut off a little bit so I can get the show started. But I'm going to play the rest of it. Here we go.
Committed to overturning a Roman government, who is committed to speaking out against injustice. How dare you use this space as a shield for imperial war? How dare you use this space as a shield for violence? How dare you use this space as a shield for genocide?
And then it continues here.
The moral atrocity that took place wasn't some disruptive protesters. It was the fact that you allowed the leader of the most violent and bloody empire in modern history to stand in this place and represent a tradition that he ain't got nothing to do with.
He ain't got nothing to do with. My man is spitting.
How dare you?
No, don't say yes, now. That was you guys who did that thing. Well, I guess I'll change my mind. I'm not gonna get mad at other people cheering him. I'll change my take on that. I'm not gonna get mad at those people. But where was that energy when you guys had a church congregation that was selling out the people? Well, where was you guys then? You have black church that has been rehabilitated. Actually, let me see if I can find the clip, because I want to show you guys the original clip. You guys know the famous clip where he was booed by peace activists, and then they chanted 4 more years. I think this is it. Oh no, this is a video summing it up. Anyway, liberals was freaking out because protesters was calling out Biden the black church, and I'm glad that Marc Lamont Hill set the record straight. That was pure fire by Mark. And like, you guys know how I said Rashid Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, and a lot of these people had an opportunity to do a face turn because of Israel, and they refused to take it. They still Democratic Party shills. Marc Lamont Hill was one of those people who took that opportunity for a face turn. Because to be frank, man, I have been very impressed by Marc Lamont Hill over the last 3 years, ever since he was fired on CNN for this issue, speaking out against Israel. I've been impressed, and I know of this guy for a very long time. I remember a period of not liking the guy. I was thinking, like, why did I not like this guy? I don't remember, to be honest. I had the impression that he was, he backed Biden. That's probably why. He said he backed Biden. That's probably why. So he got a lot of cleaning up to do. So he used this opportunity to turn face. I saw someone told me that he voted for Joe Stein in 2016. He voted for Joe Stein in 2016. That's one of the things that liberals never forgive him for, right? So he voted for Joe Stein, fell for Trump derangement syndrome, voted for one of the most anti-black politicians in the modern era, and now he's making up for it. I believe that people can change. We see how he acts moving forward. But when you look at that speech at that black church and how he's giving it to the black church for even rehabilitating this monster, Genocide Joe, I don't think he's going to support him. We see. If he does, I'm going to fucking destroy him. But I don't think Marc Lamont Hill is going to support Biden, especially after that tweet. I mean, after this speech that he just gave. So you have people like Simone Sanders that was faking outrage, who were just destroyed by Marc Lamont Hill's arguments. How dare Simone Sanders? How dare the black church and the black misleadership class we guys been talking about on RBN since day one? People, some snowflakes get upset when I criticize white America. Oh my God, Nick, you hurt my feelings. I know white people. No, you guys understand, I am way harder on my community than anyone else. No one criticizes our culture more than me. No one criticized the material op that hijacked our community, that turned everyone, people in our community reject revolution. They reject the radical traditions that we came from. So I have a lot of critiques of how the black bourgeoisie sold us out. But you gotta know, in my criticism, when they're punked down, this is the result of black church leaders, because they gave a speech. You had black church leaders that had Biden give a speech there that was a campaign event. But that's not the only thing they did, man. I can't emphasize that enough. There's so many examples of the black church popping up sellouts like Jim Clyburn. You know Jim Clyburn, the person who is the largest recipient of big pharma money in Congress. So Jim Clyburn takes the most money from big pharma. He's the biggest big pharma sellout in Congress. And South Carolina has the worst health outcomes. Black people have one third of black people will hold medical debt. We have the highest rate of medical debt. We have the by far the lowest amount of life expectancy. Why? Because people like Jim Clyburn and every single black leader sold our people out to big pharma. These are the same people that were pushing mandates and shit. You know the things that hurt mostly the black community? These are the same people, Jim Clyburn, the black community, that's against Medicare for all. You know the thing that would help black people more than anything? So, Simone Sanders, even though she's deplorable, she wasn't necessarily wrong when she said there was people outraged over genocide Joe Biden being called out, because the black church, and I'm not afraid to say this, no one can prove me wrong on this. The black church exists to uplift our oppressors and shut down radical thought in the black community. Because the whole idea, this is why Marx said religion is the opiate of the masses. The black church brainwashed black Americans to believe in institutions, to support institutions, not to be rowdy and question things. That's why when you see the black church and people who are extremely religious, those are the people most likely to be Democrats and Republicans, because the church inherently teach you to respect the order, the established order that is right now. That's why Marx said that religion is the opiate of the masses. Now, I don't type people for their religions because I think that's divisive, but it's been proven time and time again how the black church sell us out. So I'm more of a facts over your feelings kind of person. I don't want to hurt your feelings. I don't want to criticize your core beliefs, but your core beliefs is leading you to shit. Dr. Cornel West, I don't got a lot of criticism of how he uses his religion. I will never insult his religion to his, like, you know what I mean? Because he actually applies it, feeding the poor. But you got the majority of these Christians are monsters in this country. There is a story I saw. I didn't have time to save it, where you had homeless activists that asked 100 churches to house homeless people because of the blizzard and extreme cold. You guys know, out of 100 churches that was asked to take homeless people, you know how many churches took homeless people in? 4. You guys don't. If people wonder why I don't respect religion, it don't change these people's moral code. You guys know that? I'm a good person. I'm not religious. If you're a good person, you don't need a book to tell you to be a good person. You will be a good person. And if you're a good person and you're religious, you will use the book to justify being a good person. If you're a bad person, you're going to be a bad person whether you got religion or not. And now, if you're a bad person, you got religion, you're going to use your book to justify why you should be a bad person. You guys see how religion had nothing to do with it? In fact, church leaders use the respect that you have in their position to destroy the revolutionary thought that you have. So the black church invites these politicians in and give them an aura of credibility. And I'm going to play this clip here, because once again, Simone Sanders is disgusting and all these people disgusting, but she wasn't wrong. Here this guy, Michael B. Moore. I didn't know him until I saw this tweet. But he's big in the black community. Big church guy, right? This is what he says. I was proud to join President Biden at Mother Emanuel's AME Church last week. Community leaders here in South Carolina 01 appreciated his defense of democracy, justice, and truth. Sir, so I'm a facts over your feeling person. Any church that doesn't kick this motherfucker out or doesn't call this motherfucker out is a toxic scourge in our community. This guy said he appreciated Joe Biden's dedication to truth. You know, the administration that denied the fact that there's a genocide going on in Gaza? You know the administration that said that Al-Shifa Hospital was a Hamas headquarters with zero evidence? You mean the guy who said he saw 40 beheaded babies? And then the beheaded babies hoax was rejected by Israel and the IDF. The beheaded babies thing was been proven false. But these sellouts in the black church are telling us how Joe Biden is representing the truth. Listen to this nonsense here.
Questions from our panel. Juliana, you're first.
First of all, brother, good luck. That lady was something else. I want your reaction on her scolding of President Biden when he went to Mother Emanuel to speak. And she was very, very caustic about his presence there. What do you think about her remarks? And what does the community think about her remarks?
You know, I think that she felt exposed to a certain degree. You know, she knew she wasn't going to show up to Mother Emanuel. So the fact that the president did, you know, she had to come up with something to say about that.
They are turning your religion into a ground where they're going to have campaign events. And they're going to use your church and your religion, something that's supposed to be very important core to you, as a way to wage their electoral politics drama. Because if you guys don't know what they're talking about, he's talking about the people he's running against. He's talking about their opposition here. And he's saying that, well, the only reason why these people are mad at Joe Biden is here because of politics. Listen to this nonsense.
Beyond that, I've been in touch with a number of people. A number of community leaders were there at the church and were very appreciative that the President of the United States would come to Charleston, would come to Mother Emanuel to talk.
So he said he talked to many church leaders and community leaders that was thankful that Genocide Joe, one of the most anti-black politicians in modern history, used their house of God as a campaign stop. How y'all not embarrassed? Everyone should be Marc Lamont Hill right now. If you're not Marc Lamont Hill, you are enabling this trash. If you're black and you're religious, if you're black and you're in the black church, and you're silent over the fact that the black church has been used to rehabilitate war criminal after war criminal. War criminal after war criminal. People who destroyed our communities with their financial decisions, they were invited to the black church, and these motherfuckers tap dance and thank them for their presence. You're thanking Joe Biden for his presence? You guys are doing a favor for Biden, not the other way around. So these people who are doing a favor for Biden because Biden is being crushed in the polls with black voters, so they bring him to the black church to help him out. And then during the whole thing, they're like, oh my God, we appreciate Joe Biden for coming. What do you mean? You bootlicking punk? You bootlicking sellout? You see, I appreciate Joe Biden for being here and doing a campaign event. Disgusting people.
She had to come up with something to say about that. Beyond that, I've been in touch with a number of people. A number of community leaders were there at the church and were very appreciative that the President of the United States would come to Charleston, would come to Mother Emanuel to talk about things that were, of deep and great importance to the country at that sacred place. So,
but not the Gaza genocide. You know, something that the black community care about. Even MSNBC been acknowledging this. Biden has been taken into polls of young black support because of Gaza. There's Cop City being built. Did he address any of those things? You guys see how the black church is here to lie on behalf of the Democratic Party? And then people wonder why 70%, 80% of black people vote Democrat when they do vote. Why the majority of people who do vote, and I can't emphasize that enough because over about half of the people don't vote. But the black people who do vote, about 80% of them vote Democrat because the black church sellouts who use God as a way to tell black people that Jim Crow Joe is good. And people wonder why I view this institution with disdain. So this guy said that they appreciate Joe Biden for telling the truth. And Joe Biden, I just saw this before I went live. Breaking, the United States says that there is no sign of deliberate Israeli war crimes in Gaza. And the black church is going to look at your black ass and tell you that he's telling the truth. Because the black church think you're a dummy. The black church think you're dumb and you want to be controlled. Which, to be fair, a lot of them are. I told you guys, 2024 is not the year hard being thrown back. I told you guys, I'm done with that. We are already black. We already shadow banned. That's the right word. We already shadow banned on YouTube. So what the fucking point of holding back? I'm not invited to these people's spaces because I'm not one to accept this false peace, this get along to get along. I am not okay with people selling out our community. And if I was at church, I'll be calling these people out. I am not okay with that. And people use civility politics to convince them that it'd be mean to criticize the black church the way that Marc Lamont Hill did. So this is the administration that the Biden administration is defending. I'm sorry, not the Biden, obviously. This is the administration that the black church is defending, I mean. The black church, you know that guy who said the Biden administration is here to represent truth and justice? Here is the United States State Department. This is the Biden administration. This is the administration that the black church allowed into our sacred ground and to lie to people. This is what they were saying. This is them being grilled over the claims that there's no genocide going on in Gaza, that there's no indiscriminate targeting of innocent people. This is absurd. And anyone who will support this guy, anyone who will invite them to their institution is the enemy of the people. And I will add this. They're the enemy of black, brown, and brown people are fighting against violent colonialization and war. They are the biggest sellouts of all time. Olayemi, biggest sellout of all time. Conscious Lee, biggest sellout of all time. You guys know I saw Conscious Lee. He was taking pictures with Biden and shit. But people think he's a radical. So this is the Biden administration that was invited to campaign at the black church.
Israel yesterday, the Israeli military occupied and destroyed the Isra University in Gaza. I mean, this is probably number 10 of all 10 universities that they have destroyed. And is it the assessment of this department or this government that this was a legitimate target?
So I can't speak to this individual action. I don't have independent information to verify that, but I can say that we continue to urge Israel to avoid damage to critical infrastructure. That would, of course, include universities, and to ensure the protection of humanitarian and medical sites. That has been something we have urged from the outset of this conflict. It is very difficult. And again, I'm not talking about this particular site because I don't have information about this particular site, but it is always difficult when you see Hamas use those civilian sites to hide its fighters, to launch attacks on Israel.
They are still not allowed to bomb universities and hospitals. You psychopaths. This is why the ICJ is so important, because these people are trying to redefine the rules of war. In World War II, the world met in the song like, man, these last two global wars was devastating to humanity. We need to make rules of war so something like this will never happen again. That what led to the Geneva Conventions. Never again, the Genocide Convention was all about preventing a genocide like the Holocaust from happening again, where countries are just watching. So what the United States and UK, then white America and Western European society, you guys can get upset at me all you want for me saying that, but it's the fucking truth. the majority of these populations want to roll back international law. They want international law to be weaponized against black people, brown people in the global South. But the black church invited these scumbags to speak. So I'll let this guy get dismantled here.
About this particular site, but it is always difficult when you see Hamas use those civilian sites to hide its fighters, to launch attacks on Israel.
But there seems to be no evidence that there were any fighters. In fact, any presence of any kind of military presence in the university itself. I mean, you keep saying that you want Israel not to destroy the infrastructure, yet we have seen almost the total destruction of all infrastructure, including schools, hospitals, roads, cemeteries. They just, they excavated a cemetery, for instance, and took bodies. I mean, this is not exactly tell us in any way that the government of Israel is really paying heed to what you tell them, in any way, by any means.
You guys see how this guy just dismantled the Biden administration's argument? This is why I'm not really fit. Because he's being very diplomatic and patient over this psychopath John Kirby just lying to you. No, we don't see Israeli war crimes. An insane gaslighting lie. If I was there, I'd be like, you motherfuckers, you guys are gaslighting us to the worst degree. What the fuck? How you guys can say this with a I would be going off. But you guys see how diplomatic they are? I love that. So let's listen, because this is going to be another few minutes of them destroying this.
They're not listening to you.
So we have seen them take some steps to add civilian infrastructure to deconfliction sites.
No, they did not. The Biden administration, before the new year, asked Israel to limit the amount of civilian casualties. Do you guys know what happened after that? Israel killed more people. So this bullshit they have, I think this Matthew Miller, I think I said John Kirby. They all the fucking same. They all the damn same. Who gives a fuck if I got his name wrong? Matthew Miller says this. Matthew Miller thinks you're a dumbass, and they are lying to you on purpose. And the black church invited these scumbags, the person who is his boss. And then the church leaders say they appreciate Joe Biden for telling the truth. You guys understand why I'm upset? Why the black church is used to funnel black people into supporting their oppressors? Let's continue.
There are other things that we have urged them to do that we want them to do better on. It is an ongoing conversation between our two governments, and something that the secretary spoke directly with the leadership of Israel in his trip last week. But again, there is also this problem that Hamas does continue to hide in and under civilian infrastructure. So when you see a strike against any one piece of civilian infrastructure, to assess the validity of that strike, you have to know what it is that was there, and we don't always know that. At least I don't know that when I'm speaking from here.
So that was the Biden administration strategy, saying, "Oh, we don't know what's going on here. Oh, we don't know. Oh, we don't know. Oh, come on, man. You claim they bombed 13,000 kids. We didn't do an investigation in that. We didn't do an investigation in that. We can know. Who can know that? Within a few weeks of the Ukraine war, you had the United States government that said we have an assessment that Russia is committing war crimes and a genocide against Ukrainian people. They said that within weeks of the Ukraine war, and more kids died in Gaza in 1 week. Actually, less than a week. Like only 500 kids died in Ukraine. You got thousands. I think more kids died in Gaza in 3 days than died in Ukraine. But according to the Biden administration, Ukraine is a genocide. Ukraine is a war crime. But Israel, we don't know, man. Who believes this other than the dumbass black church who propped these people up? Apparently, the black church is the only people who don't know this, who don't know the Biden administration are genocidal maniacs.
Based on Saeed's question about the demolition of the university, I don't know if you've seen the video. Pretty widely available, but it certainly looks like a controlled demolition. It looks like what we do here in this country when we're taking down an old hotel or a stadium, and you have nothing to say. You have nothing to say about this. To do that kind of an explosion, you need to be in there. You have to put the explosives down, and it takes a lot of planning and preparation to do. And if there was a threat,
you guys see how he's explaining these basic facts to the Biden administration like they're children, and the liberal media and the black church would have us believe that their lying is not on purpose? We've seen the video of this fucking university being destroyed in a demolition style with tape planning, and it's like it's an active concerted effort. But the Biden administration was like, I don't know, man. We don't know if there's any evidence that they just fucking did that out of malice. Are you serious? The black church heard this shit like, yeah, Biden administration, let's invite him to speak. The fuck is this?
Particular facility, they wouldn't have been able to do it.
So I have seen the video. I can tell you that it is something we are raising with the governor of Israel, as we often do when we see
raising as
when we see to ask questions and find out what the underlying situation is, as we often do when we see reports of this nature. But I'm not able to characterize the actual facts on the ground before hearing that response.
Yeah, but you saw the video.
I did see the video. I don't.
I saw the video, and he just said, I saw the video of Israel bombing or demolishing a university, but we can't make the assessment on whether they did that or not. And people are going to vote for these people. I'll let it continue, and I want to introduce our guests. We got Midwestern Marx in the house. I'm interested in hearing you guys' reaction to this video. I see you in the back watching this, so I'm going to ask you guys about this clip and your reaction to it. But we'll bring you guys in very soon. We got Midwestern Marx in the house. Let's finish the clip and I'll introduce them.
No, I don't know what was.
It looks like a bridge being imploded.
I don't know what was under that building. I don't know what was inside.
But it doesn't matter what was under the building, because they obviously got in there to put the explosives down to do it in the way that they did.
Again, I'm glad you have factual certainty about it. I just don't.
All I have is what I saw in the video.
I just don't.
And I think you guys saw it too.
We did see it. And I can say that we have raised it with
and
the government of
Israel.
Israel.
It's not troubling to you?
We are always troubled by any degradation of civilian infrastructure in Gaza, but without knowing the actual underlying circumstances, I'm a little hesitant, I think for reasons that should be understandable, to pass definitive judgment on it from this podium.
Well, again, they have way more patience than I do. Can you imagine being gaslighted to this extreme? And he's like, wow, you got more facts than I do. No, I am using logic. You guys put bombs down to destroy this university. And he said, well, we don't know if people down there, implying that Hamas would be down there. Okay, so if Hamas was down there, how did they plant those charges with no issue? So you don't need facts. You just need basic common sense. This is our government. Gaslighting the shit out of people, and people are still American exceptionalists. People still vote Democrat when we have the most gaslighting, lying government known to man. What is that? Was probably knowing Eddie. I know you guys came in with some.
What's up, bro?
We got our boys, Midwestern Marx. I love having conversations with our friends Eddie and Noah. Always do great educational work at Midwestern Marx. What's popping, my friends?
Not much. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah,
I'm gonna start with Eddie, since he was the first one to chime in there. I just want to get your general reaction to that clip and how the United States has been lying about the Gaza war. What your general take on any reaction you have? And then you can chime in after Eddie as well. And I'm gonna continue with the segment after you guys chime in.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, kind of at this point, it's like, who's even surprised by the U.S. State Department? But I reposted that video right before I came on. Actually, I just saw that, and it's so absurd. And Israel has one defense every time. Hamas was there. And, that guy calls him out. Well, how did you plant explosives in the building if the building was swarmed by Hamas? It doesn't make logical sense. And, that was, I think Israel said Hamas maybe 170 times during the ICJ trial, where South Africa was charging them with genocide. So it's like, you bomb hospitals, you bomb UN workers, you bomb schools, and their excuse is always the same. It's Hamas. That's where Hamas is hiding. It's beyond absurd, and anyone who's still falling for that talking point at this point has their head deeply entrenched in their ass.
So Eddie and Noah, the Zionists are either the dumbest people collectively on this planet, or they the biggest liars. They're the biggest gaslighter manipulators on the planet. Which one is it? Are the people who make up the Zionist movement the dumbest movement that we ever seen to believe stuff like this? Or they're the biggest liars? I'm down for whatever. Like, if you want to say they're the biggest propagandist liars, I'm down to accept that. If you say people who accept Zionism as their core belief, they're the dumbest people ever. I accept that too. Noah, you want to chime in before I move on?
Yeah, I think, joking aside, I think it's a little of both. I think,
yeah, for real. Yeah.
It is very easy to put all common sense aside with the legitimacy that a ton of money can give to infrastructure, like media infrastructure, political infrastructure, etc. When you have the entire government of where you grow up, these kids, and think about like the kids in the IOF that are like laughing about sexually assaulting people, laughing about mass murder, dancing, like just gross stuff, because that's what they grow up with, right? That's what they're like. The people who should be teaching them to be adults are teaching them this instead.
Yeah.
And so the propaganda is just so incredibly deep and gets people to turn their brains off. At the same time, that guy was clearly lying, right? Just clearly. Yeah. And I want to say, joking not aside, the Miller always reminds me of those old school Draculas, like the black and white Bela Lugosi Dracula, right? That you see on old monster movies. And he is a vampire, so I don't know.
Yeah. I want to show you guys this, because this still within the same premise of the story. But I don't want to get you guys in trouble talking about the black church, because the whole thing is about how the black church is enabling the genocide of Palestinians. So as the church inviting these people on to do a campaign speech, and they are rehabilitating one of the most unpopular Democratic administrations ever among Black Americans, this is the position that Kamala Harris has on Gaza. Now, this is like the first time I watched a View video in forever. I don't know how people do it, but this is very relevant to what we're talking about. So this is the administration that the Black church wants to trick people about. She went on The View, Kamala Harris went on The View, and was asked about people, young people, a lot of Black people who are upset at the Biden administration because their policies on Gaza. And this is, Noah and Eddie, this is what they are about to run on. And this shit is going to be hilarious, because they are going to get destroyed. I let the video play, and I want you guys to respond. There's going to be a lot to say here. I saw this clip, and my jaw dropped to the floor. And I'm like, okay, if this is the message, because I was waiting for the real message of the Biden administration, like, you know, when they get into campaign mode. This is legitimately about to be the campaign message of the Biden administration. Wait till you see this. You're not going to believe this.
Many say that one of your many strengths as a surrogate is your connection to young people. I believe that to be true.
Based on what?
Now, voters between 18 and 20.
Yeah, feel free to interrupt, guys. I can't see you guys sometimes, so if you guys just interrupt, I'll pass it to you guys. So that's how you gotta do it. But I'll let you.
29 years old stand out as disapproving of the way the Biden administration is handling the Israel-Hamas war. They do not support sending weapons and money to Israel. They are advocating for a humanitarian ceasefire. How does the administration respond to the concerns of this very important part of the Democratic voter base?
So let's start with this. And you're right, Sonny. In fact, in the fall, I embarked on what I called a college tour and met with over 15,000 students across the country. I just have to say I love Gen Z, by the way. I think it's a spectacular generation.
How can you be this bad as a politician? No, how is it possible? Big shout out to all the Gen Zers out there. Big shout out to the Gen Zs.
How can you not know who you're talking to? I mean, anyone in Gen Z hears that and goes, that's corny as hell.
It reminds me of Hillary's Pokemon Go to the polls.
Yeah.
That's how we connect with young people. Also, the Biden administration isn't really calling for a ceasefire because they're not threatening to withhold the $3.8 billion we give to Israel. So they're like, please stop as they continue to hand Israel weapons and bomb Yemen.
Yeah.
Biden could end this with a phone call. And that's what drives me crazy. He could call up Netanyahu, be like, it ends now. When Netanyahu says no, he said, do you want to be at war with the United States of America? It ends now. But he doesn't. It's all politicking, and I mean, it's the advancement of capital at the expense of an entire people.
Absolutely, Noah. And I see your guys' comments sometimes. When I do solo shows, it's hard to highlight all of them. But this person, I seen this one on the corner of my eye, so I'll read it. Never seen someone hated Gen Z so much. So I would say no, there's been no one that's been hated by Gen Z more. Gen Z can't stand Kamala. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris went to the View and like, yeah, I went to college and I hung with the kids. I'm hip. They kids love me. I went to a college tour. I did a college tour. I'm hip.
Do you remember when?
Who are you tricking? Are you trying to trick the boomer audience that watches this show?
Do you remember when she was talking about listening to Snoop Dogg at college?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And it turned out that album came out like years after she had left college.
Of course. I remember that. That was one of the moments where even black liberals that were tricked by Kamala, like, hold up. Hold up. I've seen black liberals. I mean, I'm talking about people far to my right. There's a reason why, like, even before her tanking, she wasn't doing that well with black voters. It was white suburbanite. I remember I used to talk about this when I was a Bernie surrogate all the time. Like, you guys, I always say this all the time back when I was a Bernie bro. He's like, you gotta say Bernie bros are white, but if you look at the polls, Kamala Harris supports suburban white women, while Bernie supported mostly young black and brown people, which was true. But Kamala Harris pretending that she's down with Gen Z. But anyway, let's get back to the clip. I won't play that part again because I think it's funny. And then wait until she get into the Gaza answer, though. Remember, the question was, and I remind you guys because Kamala doesn't even come close to answering it. What do you say to young voters who disapprove of the way Biden is handling the Israel-Hamas war?
Democratic voter base.
That's the question.
So let's start with this. And you're right, Sonny. In fact, in the fall, I embarked on what I called a college tour and met with over 15,000 students across the country. I just have to say I love Gen Z, by the way. I think it's a spectacular generation. But all of that to say, you're absolutely right. I have talked with young people, many around the country.
Listen to this shit.
And I've heard them, I see them, and I understand. But I think it's important that while we understand where they're coming from, which I do, that we not lose sight of the context, which is, let's just go back to October 7th.
So Eddie, Noah, her answer to the question, what do you say to voters that are concerned about the genocide you're supporting in Gaza? Kamala Harris' answer will be on the campaign trail. But what about October 7th? That's her response. As if young people don't know October 7th happened. As if the people who are upset at your Gaza policies don't know October 7th happened. I'll let it continue because it gets worse. It gets worse.
Just go back to October 7th. We can't deny the significance of a vicious, brutal attack that caused the death of 1,200 innocent people, a lot of them young people who are just attending a concert.
Yeah.
Women who were brutally assaulted and raped. And again, as someone...
So she's spreading the lie. So Kamala Harris was asked on The View about the Gaza policies, and in order to sell her policies, she has to lie about what Hamas did during the military operation. But this is the administration that the Black church brought in praise for telling the truth. So question, Noah and Eddie, if Hamas is so evil, why do they have to lie about what Hamas did? When have I ever lied about what the United States have done? I don't, because I don't have to. I literally just go on my show and just show you the shit they say, and that's good enough. That's all I do. Our government is so evil. Our politicians are so evil. It's easy exposing them because they expose themselves every day. So if Hamas is so evil, why you guys gotta make shit up about them? Wouldn't how evil they are speak to themselves? Right? I finished the clip and I'll pass it to you guys. I'm gonna finish it this time and then I'll give you guys thoughts.
Someone who spent a lot of my career focused on those kinds of crimes, the horror of it. And all of that to also then say Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does matters. There have been far too many innocent Palestinians that have been killed. The president and I and many members of our administration have been very clear. I've been on over, I think, 14, 15 calls that the president has had with Bibi Netanyahu about what Israel must do. to protect innocent civilians. We all want this to end as soon as possible. And how it ends matters.
So I said enough. I want to get your guys' reaction to that. Warsaw, do you feel inspired as members of Gen Z? I know Eddie is for sure, but do you guys feel inspired as members of Gen Z hearing Kamala Harris' response to the question? Remember, the question was, what's your response to young people who have said your policies? Her response to that question was, October 7th, women was raped. I go, oh my God, we got to, that's not answering the question. Eddie, Noah, do you guys want to chime in? I'll pass to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, as a Gen Zer, I guess she says we understand where you're coming from. Like, no, you don't. You clearly don't understand because you're still perpetrating the genocide. You're refusing to demand a ceasefire. You're refusing to threaten to withhold $3.8 billion of our tax money to Israel, which you're currently funneling into them, and you have been for years. And she says, you know, we would do the same thing if we were attacked. Like, you want to know what I would do if I was locked in a concentration camp and my family and my sister and my parents were constantly being bombed by bombs paid for by the United States? I would do the same thing that the Palestinians did on October 7th, right? She says we need to put this in context.
Finally, someone says it. Thank you, Eddie. I don't mean to cut you off, but finally, because that's what I've been saying. But sorry, I'm so glad you said it. Because if you're willing to say, and this is what a lot of people in this country believe, that Palestinians are violent. October 7th was an act that we should condemn. I don't. If you guys did half to my family what you did to the Palestinians, you guys understand what I'll be down for? Like, if you guys did half, like, so for example, I see stories of like Palestinians being displaced from their homes. You guys know how extreme I will become, the terrorist I will become if you guys displaced my mother from her home. Imagine if a hostile foreign power came in, kicked your mother out of her home so a settler colonialist can live there. That's what Palestinians do with all the time. You guys know what I would be down for? But sorry, Eddie. I just love the fact that you said that because there's so many people who are too afraid to say it. So Eddie, I'll pass it back to you.
For sure. And it's she says we need to put the issue in context, and then goes to October 7th and repeats a bunch of lies about what happened in order to demonize Hamas. Like, why don't we put October 7th in context, Kamala Harris? Yes. Why don't you talk about the fact that these people were in an open air prison? They were in a concentration camp that they broke out of. And yes, it's tragic that civilians were killed in the crossfire. I mean, a lot of them were killed by Israel indiscriminately firing upon their own civilians. But let's put October 7th in context. She doesn't want to do that. She just wants to uphold October 7th as if it justifies everything that Israel's done since, which is absurd and infuriating to listen to.
And not only that, the entire question was not, what's the context? It's your handling after that is unacceptable. The entire thing was a dodge. And I didn't even scratch the surface of the context. It's so much worse than that. They own and poison the water. You know what that does to people drinking poisoned water? It's not, and that's getting away from when they mow the lawn and start killing off civilians randomly. My coworkers sort of look at me oh yeah, like if I want to know what's going on in the world, ask Noah. And they were like, dude, why should we care about Palestine and Israel? It's got nothing to do with us. And just what Eddie was saying is what made every single one of them understand. What would we be doing right now if the Canadians, came to Cleveland, started taking our houses, your grandma's out on the street? Like, we would be organizing and fighting back, and it probably wouldn't have taken us, much convincing to pick up guns.
Yeah, and Noah, don't get it wrong, your example is great, but the thing is, that's not even a perfect example because we're not indigenous to this land.
Well, yeah.
So I'm not criticizing your example because your example is good. I'm just saying that you guys know it's way worse than that. Because Palestinians are indigenous to that land, and then you have a hostile foreign power come in and kick you out. You know what I mean? But I want to read some super chats. Actually, no, I got one more receipt. I'm gonna read super chats after I finish this because I saw this. I almost skipped this one. I need to go through Davos. I'm behind on Davos. I usually like to check out Davos, but I've been very busy with the Israel stuff. But you know who was at Davos? Kamala Harris's husband.
Imagine
You want
that.
to know what the issue that he viewed as extremely important? Glenn Greenwald tweeted this out. Kamala Harris's husband, Douglas, let me zoom in, Emhoff, speaks at Davos on the difficult plight of being an American Jew. So let's listen to this.
But as American Jews, I think the feeling is one of aloneness and being hated and being unmoored and all these things that we had maybe fooled ourselves into thinking that this wasn't so bad. We're not really experiencing anti-Semitism. It's never going to be this horrible. It happened. And then, as you've been saying, we kind of saw who our friends were and who our friends weren't. And there were too many in the weren't category, some who we thought were friends. And
Nick, can I interrupt for 1 second, Nick?
Yeah, feel free to interrupt anytime, guys. Feel free.
This dude is saying this at the World Economic Forum. Let's put some perspective in this, right? This dude is saying this at the World Economic Forum. Jesus Christ. That's it.
So no one hates Jews. No one hates Jews. People hate Zionists. And I refuse to let people change that around. You can't say I hate Jews because I oppose the state of Israel, because the majority of Zionists in this country are Christians. Which is why it's ridiculous.
I oppose Zionism.
Yeah, exactly. And people who criticize Israel and say the Jews, a lot of those people are legitimately anti-Semitic. I'm talking about like the white supremacists, a very small minority, right? These are people that the Jews want to take over the world. These are idiots that do not represent the Palestinian cause. Everyone acknowledges that the problem in the Zionism, but you guys see how they purposely conflate Jews and Zionism. And I'll pass it to you guys for last thought and we move on. They pretend that the American Zionists, once again, emphasis on Zionists, are a persecuted minority. These Jewish Zionists are a persecuted minority. Hey, fam, show me one minority group. They got Congress to immediately get together to pass a bill to crack down on free speech. Show me one minority group that get Congress to unanimously come together and pass bills on their behalf. You guys think black people got that? If you don't support reparations, we're gonna have our elite Stefanik grill a president because they don't support an ass of the black community, and they think they are persecuted.
When did the black version of AIPAC start? I missed that.
Exactly. It's so absurd. You can pick this apart 1,000 different ways. But Eddie, I'll give you last word on this. I'll read some super chats, and we got one more quick segment that we're gonna do today. We're gonna cover the ICJ and how the world is turning against Israel. That'll be the next segment. Eddie, any last thoughts you have on this segment before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that there are a few, anti-Semites, and we condemn them. They're out there and they're idiots and they make the movement look bad. But I mean, Noah, as a Jewish person, how much anti-Semitism have you faced on the Marxist-Leninist left or on the Marxist left? Zero, right? Because we're not opposed to Jewish people. We're opposed to the fascist state of Israel that's massacring children right now and carpet bombing Gaza. So it's as simple as that. And, for Marxists out there, make sure, condemn anti-Semitism because it's not helpful. That's the Zionists are the ones who want to conflate Judaism with Zionism.
I think a lot of them are feds. I explained before that the Patriot Front, all these people are feds. So they do the work of the government by conflating Jews with Zionism. So these fed white supremacist people be like, the Jews are taking over the world. The Jews are evil. I'm like, Nick, you doing this. It's not a coincidence to me that you're doing exactly what the establishment want. They all fed. Anyway, sorry, Ed, I keep cutting you off. My bad. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I was done. Do you have something?
Can I just say one thing? I'm sorry. Did you notice they kept conflating, saying there's this massive, inflammation of anti-Semitism all over the country, right? Nowhere to be found. And then suddenly all these weird neo-Nazis no one had ever seen before are all over social media. That just don't seem like a coincidence to me. I don't know.
Not at all. I'll read some super chats. Then we can move on to the next story. I think I'm gonna wrap up after the ICJ. Once again, on Saturday, I'm gonna keep these shows around 60 to 90 minutes. I appreciate your guys' time. You guys gonna see a lot of Midwestern Marx. Definitely gonna be bothering you guys a lot. I'm like Nick and Knight season 2 started this year. We transformed. Nick and Knight season 1 was dope, but we transforming this show. I'm having a lot of fun doing this, having something that's my own, and I'm building the squad. I'm building the squad. We had Assault Rod on earlier. We had Kean from Due Distance on Thursday. We had Lucy, Blue Moon, Red Wine, Assault Rod. You know, heavy hitting people that I believe are slept on. That's what the guests I'm gonna have on this show. People I believe are slept on, who are heavy fucking hitters, and that's Midwestern Marx, heavy hitters. Thank for $5, and the fire emoji, solidarity from Ethan. Thank for $5 from Sean. People who take the Bible literally are functionally illiterate. They haven't read it, aren't capable of that level of reading comprehension. Thank for $5. I think I dragged religion enough earlier. You guys know I don't do that often. Yeah, if you watch my content, I always say I don't type people religion. But with the black church thing, that shit was crazy. So I just had to say what I had to say during that segment. But I generally don't do that. I think it's kind of divisive, but it's true. And I said before, if you think religion makes you a good person, it does not. If you're a good person, you are a good person because of that, and your book reaffirms that. If you're a bad person, you're going to use that book as a reason to be a bad person. So with that said, it don't seem like a factor to contribute whether you're a good or bad person. That was like a conclusion I made a long time ago, by the way. So I'm like, all right, I'll just be a fucking good person. I don't need some God. If some God made me feel bad, I'll just be a fucking good person. How hard is that? And heaven exists. And if I was a good person, they'll send me to heaven. If you send me to hell because I don't believe in you, even though I was a good person, your religion is not worth worshiping. That's how I like reconcile this in my head. If you guys are just curious about my personal beliefs. If I'm a good person, if I fight for my neighbors, and you send me to hell just because I don't believe in you, that's not just. So you send me to the same place that Hitler's at? the same place that Mussolini is at? The same place that Dick Cheney, all these worst war criminals. You guys say I'm going to the same place simply because I didn't believe something? You guys see how this doesn't never make sense to me and I had to reject it? I think that's evil. You can't say a God is just and they sending good people to be tortured for eternity. Like, this concept was like crazy to me. But anyway, I'll shut up. I said I wasn't about to talk about it, but it's just weird to me. Thanks for the $10, Eric. What are 2 or 3 books you recommend by revolutionary black figures are essential reading? Love y'all. Keep spitting fire. There was a great reading list I saw. I gotta see if I can put it on. This is the reading list I found for black socialists and communists. Socialism in the American Negro by W.B. Du Bois is good. W.B. Du Bois had a lot of liberal, he's a very complicated guy. Like he had a lot of liberal tendencies, but later in his life, he grown to appreciate socialism and what it means for Black Americans. So you would see like W.B. Du Bois, like, W.B. Du Bois had this conservative idea, but then later in life, he started formulating very base opinions. So he wrote this book that came out, I believe, 1960. Socialism in the American Negro. And in that book, there's a passage I posted on my tweet that literally calls out the black bourgeoisie class and explains perfectly everything that's gone on. This was 50, 60 years ago. And in this book, American and Socialism in the American Negro, he predicted and explained how black capitalist forces are joining the empire to crack down on workers and black people. That's one of the books I recommend. There's a manifesto from the Black Panthers. This is one of the manifestos that actually got me to turn to a Marxist. Because remember, I was doing a lot of soul searching. I was like, man, what the fuck should we do? You know what I mean? After the brain campaign laws. Obviously, everyone started looking to the Black Panthers. We were the Fred Hampton leftists. Remember, we started Fred Hampton leftists. So as the Fred Hampton leftist, I was like, all right, I'm going to start reading a ton of Black Panther shit. I can't be afraid of the leftists, and I read the damn literature. So there's a manifesto that like 99.9% of black people haven't read. Because if you read this manifesto, how can you not be a communist? Because in this Black Panther manifesto, they laid out, and I apologize, I don't remember the name. I may do a stream literally while I read it, because it's literally that important. The Black Panther manifesto was all about why black people should support Marxist-Leninism. And how Marxist-Leninism should be a tool in which we organize our black community. They give a lot of historical examples on why. I can't even sum it up properly. It's a fantastic read. I gotta read again. So that's 2. I'm gonna stop to keep it short here. Maybe I think on our website we talked about it before. I'm gonna see if it's done. We talked about in one of our RBN meetings how we're gonna put like a book list, a reading list together. I think you guys do that at Midwestern Marx, but that is actually a pretty good idea. But anyway, I gotta cut my answer off short.
Can I have one?
Yeah, go ahead. Absolutely, go ahead.
One more by Du Bois. Black Reconstruction in America is the book you need to understand American history, class struggle, what even the American people are, since we're all so different and there's so many communities. Black Reconstruction in America. That is like, if you're a communist, you need anti-Düring, you need Lenin's left-wing communism, and you need Black Reconstruction.
Yeah, well said. Anything else? Anything you want to add to it? Or you can pass it to me. I got one more story for us today.
I agree 100%. I mean, I think Black Reconstruction is basically a Marxist analysis of American conditions post-Civil War. And if you're an American communist, like Noah said, it's just as important as reading Marx or Engels or Lenin.
I think I gotta check that out. I've been thinking in my head like, have I read that up there? I definitely gotta check that out. So I got a good recommendation. I told you guys earlier this week, I got reread State and Revolution. I read that like 2.5 years ago. I think that's one of the things that people got to reread. Cause I'm like, man, that was a while ago. I feel like I got to sharpen my knowledge. I'm gonna read that again. And that's something that we're gonna do heavy on this show as well, theory. And I got to sharpen my shit. I read a lot, but you got to stay sharp. I got to constantly sharpen my stuff up, and I recommend you guys do the same. So maybe I'm gonna read State and Revolution again. I'm gonna read the Black Reconstruction book that you guys mentioned as well. And like I said on the Jimmy Dore show, remember, I went on Jimmy Dore show, a show with a majority right-wing audience, and Jimmy himself would admit this. And I preach revolution, and I look at the comment section like, how did Jimmy show like take our appearance, bro? Everyone in the Jimmy comment section loved our being after our appearance because I was telling people I said we need to reject anti-intellectualism, we need to learn, we need to organize, we need to come together, and the quote-unquote right-wing Jimmy Dore audience loved us, and that was my message. Right. So the point is, I don't know why I brought that up. Actually, I think the point is we gotta learn, and people that resonated with people when I said that. I saw a lot of people comment say, "Yeah, Nick, we do need to reject anti-intellectualism because I think it's the number one problem that we have in our society right now. Like people are just dumb and happy to be dumb. Like people who reach the age of 21, they're like, man, I'm grown. You can't tell me shit. You know, there's people can't tell me shit. They all pay bills, nigga. I had parents. I went through that when I was a kid. I'm grown. You can't tell me anything. That shit we gotta reject, man." But anyway, I'm ranting at this point. Any last thoughts? And let's get to an actual segment. We can move on. I'm gonna show you guys this. I did a hotspot on this, so this is like the longer version of my hotspot, where the world is rallying behind the ICJ genocide charges. You have the South African lawyers who was greeted with a hero's welcome, which warmed my heart. You guys know the lawyers of South Africa; they are the civil rights icons of the world right now.
It's very
the
true.
world loves. They are civil rights icons, and they inspired the entire world. What they did. Now, I think it was also sort of a strategy to have South Africa be the country who present the claim as the country who went through apartheid, and then after that, this court case, now you have these other countries in a strategic way. And I think this may be outlined later. You learn about how this stuff happens later. I think it's going to come out later that there was a plan, get the genocide charge out there, create the narrative, and now you have Indonesia that about to take Israel to court to discuss and expose the problem with the occupation of Palestine. You have Slovenia join us as well. You have all these countries putting their individual claims and concerns against Israel. You guys see how it all coming at once? It's a coordinated international effort to hold these monsters accountable. So let's watch this video, and I'm going to give you guys a reaction. They talking about how, and I'll just read the first part. Breaking, Indonesia will be taking Israel to ICJ court on new charge. So they're going to explain it in the video, so I'll play it now.
Is now challenging Israel's occupation of Palestine, and Foreign Minister Retno Massoudi says they're preparing legal arguments for the International Court of Justice.
International law must be upheld. The right of the Palestinian people to self-determination must be respected. Israel's occupation of Palestine, which has lasted for more than 70 years, will not erase the right of the Palestinian people to independence.
An Indonesian international law expert says the main hurdle is that the ICJ's decision can only be advisory, contrary to the South African legal case against Israel.
The hurdle is, of course, the advisory opinion is not the same as a ICJ court decision. Advisory opinion has only a quote-unquote moral binding. And this is addressed to the organs of the United Nations, which in this case addressed to the United Nations General Assembly. That's one. Secondly, if the ICJ made that advisory opinion, and if it is in favor of the people of the Palestine, the question is whether Israel will observe the advisory opinion. Will Israel?
So, wait, is it done there? Yeah, I think it's done. I don't know why they let it
illegally.
It's paused for a second.
Said that yes. Said that yes, Israel have occupied Palestine illegally, because that is the main question being asked to the ICJ.
So for people, I saw people asked it. Let's see if I can pull the book up. Socialism and the American Negro. That's the name of the book. Here it is right here. If I get into that, I read this book like before we. Oh damn! I didn't even pull the whole damn book up. Let's see. What is this? Oh damn! So you can just fucking read this shit just like that. You guys see this?
That
One I
book's
read.
in my Speechify right now.
That's awesome.
Along with some Hegel.
Yeah, I need to sharpen my theory back up. It's all you guys should always be reading. That's what I'm saying. So this is a book I mentioned, Socialism and the American Negro. Fantastic book, fantastic read. There's a passage I posted multiple times because it was so good. But anyway, I don't want to hijack the segment too much. That's the book if you guys are wondering. And I literally if you Google, I didn't know this. I didn't read it this way at the time. If you Google Socialism and the American Negro, you can click this PDF and it brings you right to the book. I don't know if it's like a free preview or whatever, but it's like really easy to find based on what you're seeing. But let's address the ICJ. And this is an advisory. There's no binding, as they explained on the Slovenia cases. But it's very important, like they're trying to do, lay out the case that Israel is illegally occupying Palestine. You guys see how all these international pressures are coming together? So not only do you have the genocide charge, this is about illuminating facts, awakening eyes, and delegitimizing the court. Because at this point, Israel's only argument, let me see if I can find this. I didn't have this saved, but I just saw this earlier today, how Israel doubled down with the South Africa Hamas thing. So let me see if I can find it. I literally just saw it not too long ago. Here it is. No, that's not the one I'm looking for. What the fuck is that article? I just saw it not too long ago. The article was how South Africa says that. Israel says that South Africa is an agent of Hamas. Let me talk about South Africa. I should say this article. I want to find it. I really actually want to find this. Oh, here it is. I actually probably should have saved this for the story. Look, this is the legal argument that Israel is using. I did a segment on this last week about Israel making a mockery of the court by saying absurd stuff. In fact, they even lied about the beheaded babies. Like, how can you go to court and lie about something that was proven false? So Israel's argument is that South Africa is a Hamas, so we shouldn't listen to them. So at this point, if the International Court of Justice sides with Israel, the entire legitimacy of the court will be destroyed. International law will be exposed as the fraudulent thing that is weaponized against the global South, like it is. If the ICC lets Israel off, we need to abolish the ICC and all these fucking hypocritical international organizations that exist just to go after the global South. So I'm gonna give you guys thoughts in here. I'm gonna read the headline. I'll just read the headline. I know you want to chime in, so I'll pass to you. But here's the headline: Why the global South support Pator's ICJ genocide case? So majority of the world population is supporting the genocide claim against Israel. You want to know who's not? The West. But anyway, no. Before I chime in on that, I'm gonna get you in here. What you about to chime in on, Noah?
Yeah, no, I was going to say that the timing of this is not coincidental. The West power is waning, and the entire anti-imperialist world is rising right now. And so as this happens, the institutions of the West are already crumbling, and this includes things like the ICJ. Remember, only last month, we had the whole thing with British Guiana and Venezuela and the Essequibo, right? And ExxonMobil basically trying to demand access to all of these new oil fields. And it's just more and more going to wither the legitimacy of these institutions. And I don't mean to make everything about us, but we're here in the U.S., so what that means for us is huge as revolutionary. I mean, there's just opportunity.
Anything you want to add?
For sure, yeah. And I mean, if people want to check out South Africa's case against Israel, it's available online, and it's one of the most, or probably the best resource we have for looking at all the crimes that Israel's committed since October 7th. And they make it very clear that there are multiple times where Israel has launched missiles at a hospital or at a refugee camp or UN workers or a civilian area with no foresight that Hamas was there, with no evidence that Hamas was there. So the South African case against Israel itself dismantles this idea that they're targeting Hamas, but that's the only argument that Israel has at this point. So they fall back on the argument of, no, we're only targeting Hamas, and even, going to the absurd point of saying that South Africa literally is Hamas. Like, it's a clown show.
I used to do it as a joke. I used to do it as a bit. the whole Israel blames South Africa. It calls before the whole case started. Like, they're gonna call South Africa Hamas. I joked. We had a few laughs. Like, watch them say the Hamas thing, and then they came out and legitimately did that argument, and my jaw was on the floor. I was like, bro, we did jokes about this, and they are legitimately using this as a real argument. It's unbelievable. And the only people who buys this, why is this not showing up? Let me try to fix this. Let's see, is it showing up now? Oh, there it is. The only people not buying it are the Western countries that 100% support the genocide. You have Germany, who still feel bad about the Holocaust, so they got to support the new Holocaust. And that's what I don't understand. Like, if Zionist Jews need a homeland because of the Holocaust, why don't you guys take Germany? They did it, not Palestinians.
Good point.
Germany to intervene for Israel at ICJ. U.S. Canada case is baseless. And wait until you see the arguments that Germans and French people are using to oppose the genocide charge in the ICJ. Doesn't it feel good to have morons as your enemies? It doesn't feel good. Like, and that's how I feel. We were talking about this earlier, Noah, with the people who go after us. Like, we got the dumbest, we have the absolute dumbest and most insignificant people who critique us. The people who go after us, I could not pick better enemies. Like, I got people like the Vanguard who attack us. I got people from the CPUSA, like the most irrelevant motherfuckers, the dumbest motherfuckers in politics attack us. You can't, like, if someone who was good, like someone who like deconstructed my politics in a devastating way, that would hurt, man. That never happened though. They lied.
No, they just like fling a bunch of accusations at the wall, hoping people will believe one of them.
Yeah. So the point I'm making, the overall point I'm making is that France, Germany, Zionists, Israel, U.S., they are making it too easy with their ridiculous claims. Here is Germany that is endorsing collective punishment. You know, a war crime? Here's the biggest Jewish newspaper in Germany. The civilians in Gaza are not innocent. If there is such a thing as a collective responsibility for crimes, then this applies to the case of October 7th. This is the largest Jewish newspaper in Germany that is advocating for collective punishment.
That's wild.
You know how international law only applies to black and brown global South countries? They say, oh my God, there's no genocide. There's no war crime. Collective punishment is a war crime. How crazy is it, Noah and Eddie, that the revolutionaries, the people who are anti-establishment, the people who generally want to tear the system down, we have the most respect for international law. Like, I've been thinking about this a lot recently. Like, are we really tearing it down? Or are we demanding our government to uphold their values and principles? So we got to tear this government down because they're not upholding international law. So it's not the law that we're against. This is what the right wing would say. They're lawless. They want anarchy. The communists are crazy. No, we want a revolution so the ruling class is forced to follow the law for the first time in my life. So that's Germany. And wait until you hear, and this is the last we've seen, we can begin to wrap up. Wait until you guys hear the ridiculous reason, I kind of spoiled it in my hotspot video already. The ridiculous reason why France will not accept the ICJ ruling. They say it's morally wrong to charge Israel with genocide. And when you dig into here, they said to accuse the Jewish state of genocide is to cross a moral threshold.
What does that even mean?
The notion of genocide cannot be exploited for political ends. This has always been our position. So what they're saying is you cannot criticize a Jewish country for doing something wrong. So a Jewish country can do whatever they want. Hell, they can implement slavery. What that would the Zionist Jews did in the first place. They helped the slave trade, so they can bring it back. And if we are against that, they would say, "Oh man, what are you doing? Going after the Jewish state?" This is just one of many articles. I've seen Fox News and the most unhinged Zionists say this all the time. Why are you guys going after the only Jewish state? You think making you a Jewish state make you above criticism?
You don't get it, Nick. No,
go ahead, Noah. Go ahead, Noah.
You don't get it, Nick. If it's Israeli slavery, it's moral slavery.
Right. It's like Israel saying, no, we're not targeting civilians. We're only targeting Hamas. And Germany's like, well, no, actually, they are targeting civilians, but the civilians deserve it.
That's
and
a
France
good point,
is like,
Eddie.
yeah, they are, but you can't criticize Israel. They're allowed to do what they want.
That's a good point, man. That's such a good point, Eddie. So they claim that they're not targeting civilians, but then and not only this newspaper, but the defense that came from the Western establishment of Israel in the first place is that no one in Gaza is innocent. So if you guys are saying there's no civilians in Gaza, why do you have to say that there's no civilians you're targeting? That's such a great point, Eddie. I'm gonna start using that. That is a devastating comeback. But this is why I mentioned in my hotspot video. You have Germany, France, and media figures in the United States that's endorsing Jewish supremacy. The toxic scourge of Jewish supremacy. The idea, and this is shared by, for example, the top rabbi in Israel. You know, the top rabbi in Israel says that he advocates for rape in war because he believes that's a good stress reliever for his soldiers. Like, this is what he said. He said, we got to relieve the stress for the soldier during wartime, so we got to allow them to rape. And it's not really rape because if you rape someone who's non-Jewish, it's not a crime. Because Jewish supremacists, and I would say the far right in Israel, the majority of them believe that Jewish crimes against non-people are not a crime. You understand? This is the statement that we fight against. This is the statement that the majority of Christians in this country support. You have evangelical Christians that support people who advocate for Jewish supremacy. The idea that Jewish people can do whatever they want to non-Jews. You have evangelical Christians, I'll pass to you guys after this last thought. You have evangelical Christians cheering on radical fascist Jewish people bombing Christian hospitals. Let me repeat that. Christians are cheering on fascist Jewish people bombing churches. How does that make sense? How does that make sense? How are we not the most brainwashed country in the world? Evangelicals are cheering on the bombing and killing of Christians. Insane, right? That's my last thought. Eddie, I'll get you guys in here and we can begin to wrap up here soon.
Yeah, I recommend people check out the book by Ghassan Kanafani called On Zionist Literature. I read it this year. It's the best breakdown of Zionism and the roots of political Zionism that I've ever had the pleasure of reading. Kanafani was killed by the Israeli Mossad when he was in his 30s by a car bomb because he was such an effective writer. But he shows in great detail that Jewish supremacy has always been part of the Zionist ideology. That's always and the dehumanization of Arabs, but Jewish supremacy specifically, and it shows you exactly what Israel is. They are a fascist state. They are a state filled with people who believe that they are superior and they should be allowed to enslave or expel the Arab population from their home. And it's the exact same thing that the Nazis believed in Germany. It's just in an inverted form.
Yeah, things become their opposites, right? And this, like Eddie said, this is literally how the Nazis spoke about Jews and about Slavs and about the Aryan race for them, right? And I just want to add that Norman Finkelstein has written a lot of good stuff on this as well. So if we're doing the sort of book recommendations, Eddie's been, talking about Finkelstein's books with Carlos and me from the Institute. for months now, and it's really good stuff for anyone interested.
Yeah, well said. And if you guys didn't believe, I'll show you guys receipts because I don't expect you guys just to believe me, but I tell you guys I don't lie. Unlike Zionists, who have to lie about Hamas because they have nothing on them, I don't have to lie. I don't ever have to lie about Israel. Never had to lie about the United States. I just show you guys receipts because I respect your intelligence. I don't expect you guys just to believe what I say, but I never fucking lie to you guys. If I get something wrong, it's because I just got it wrong. But never will I lie to you guys and say shit like, but Hamas beheaded babies. I will never say shit I can't prove on the channel.
You remember when they were saying Hamas was cooking babies in ovens for a minute? That one didn't stick, though. It was too out there.
Do you have the fucking nation in the Intercept that had the audacity to criticize the fucking gray zone because the gray zone actually does investigative reporting instead of just repeating government talking points like a fucking lapdog? The nation, the Intercept, they are full of fucking lapdogs who just repeated uncritically the claims that Hamas mass raped. And then when the gray zone exposed that they are just government stenographers through the deeds of their work, they didn't call them out. So the gray zone exposed them by their work. So when gray zone exposed that it's a lie, the question is, why didn't the Intercept do that? Why didn't the Nation do that? Why did they go along with the psyop that Max Blumenthal and Aaron Mate easily exposed? They can't reconcile that. So instead, they smeared and lied about them. They lie about the truth tellers. But anyway, I'll read the headline because I know some people only listen. This is the headline of what I was talking about earlier. Israeli military chief stands by the choice. So it wasn't like a mistake, fam. They look into what he said. They heard the controversy. They're like, "No, we good. We like that. We good." They stand by the choice of the top rabbi who implied rape is permitted in wartime. I will never, ever forgive, ever, the white leftists and the country and the people in this country who projected Israel's rape culture on Palestinians because they brown Muslims. You got to realize that the Nation in the Intercept, they are among the most racist people in the country. They uncritically believe Palestinians engaged in mass race because of course brown people would do that. Of course, you guys know that's how we view it. Aaron Mate, Max Blumenthal called out how it was. Max Blumenthal never ever accused people of being racist, but he's like, bro, gotta admit, there's some racist ass shit. The people who just believe Palestinians in the middle of a military operation with Apache helicopters shooting at them. These brown people, they can't control their emotions so much that they are willing to die to rape. You gotta know over 100, it was like 300 or so Hamas fighters died during October 7th. You guys know that? I've seen countless coverage of this story. I'll pass to you. I've seen countless coverage of the story, and no one ever mentions that. No one ever mentions the fact that that hundreds of Hamas fighters died. You know why? Because it would demonstrate that it was a dangerous military operation instead of a terrorist attack. It will also dismantle their bullshit talking points. So in a situation where hundreds of people are dying, including the people you train with, imagine you train with these people. They're your brothers. They're your allies in your army, your comrades in arms, I should say. You're watching them die, Noah. You're watching your brothers die on the field. So after you see your brothers die, you know there's a chance that you're going to die. There's inherent mourning that goes along with that. Can you imagine the emotional state you would be in, seeing people die, knowing that Apache helicopters are shooting at you, knowing that this is a life and death situation that you trained your entire life for? But what racists will have you believe, in one of the most important moments of these people's life, that they lost control and raped people. They're not mourning their people they're not mourning their down comrades. They're not worried about their life. They're beasts, Eddie and Noah. They're beastie people who don't care about that. They just can't help but rape the white woman. You guys see why this fucking shit infuriates me? It infuriates me, and I have zero respect for anyone who repeats it. And that's the majority of the left in this country. That's my last rant. I promise you guys. I pass to you guys. You can shout the channel out. I love the work that Midwestern Marx has done. Like I got my hotspot videos. I've been doing no comment. I'm like, man, that boy Eddie been killing again. Like I was like, man, let's see if I can do this Gen Z shit. You got Gen Z. You guys be killing it with them short videos. I'm like, man, I might be old. I might be a little bit boomer, but I can do it. I can do what Eddie do. I can do what Eddie do. But anyway, shout your shit. I'm gonna see if I can pull up Eddie's the last one I've seen from Eddie, just so you guys what I'm talking about. I'll pass to Eddie first, then Noah. Any last words, anything you want to shout out before you wrap up on the stream?
Yeah, thanks so much for having us on. You can check us out everywhere at Midwestern Marx. My personal Twitter is at @EdB_Ligersmith. But yeah, we just do anti-imperialist coverage, and we talk about theory a lot and show everyone how the things that we're witnessing, like the Israeli genocide, are products of capitalism. And Israel is ultimately an outpost for the capitalist imperialists in the Middle East. It protects the interests of oil oligarchs and finance capitalists on Wall Street. So the root of all these issues is capitalism, and we have to attack capitalism at its foundations, as Lenin says, and that's the goal of our project.
I want to be slightly more specific too than Eddie. We have a publishing press as well. We have a book of poetry by our international director, Danny Shaw, coming out very soon. A book of poetry about Palestine, rather. We have our own theory coming out. My book on reproletarianization and the death of the middle class coming out. The book behind me there, The Purity Fetish by Carlos Carrino. Just a ton of stuff. Check out the website. We run classes. Basics of Marxism is starting again soon. So yeah, thank you so much, Nick. Always a pleasure talking to you, brother.
Yeah, well, so I'm trying to find. There's a short video I've seen from Eddie. I can't find the one I'm thinking of, but I guess I played it. I'm gonna see if I can find another one. There's one I'm very specific. I can't.
Joy Behar of the Views.
So let's play this one. I'm gonna show you guys just an example of like some of the work that I've seen Eddie has done, and I was like, man, I can make videos like these. I can do that. Eddie killing the game on TikTok.
Scoffs at young people feeling left behind by the economy. Oh, please get a job. Boo hoo. Yeah, we already tried that, Joy. We have jobs. And guess what? 80% of us are still living paycheck to paycheck. It's almost like capitalism incentivizes the employers to drive wages down as much as possible so they can maximize their own profits. It's almost like capitalism leads to inflation and a constant increase in the price of goods. It's almost like this economy isn't working for anybody except shareholders on Wall Street and rich condescending people in Hollywood. Like, is Joy Behar really telling us to get a job? Being a host of The View is not a real job. It's just like 2 or 3 upper-class liberal white women plus Meghan McCain and Whoopi Goldberg complaining about stuff and giving half-baked political analysis. Meanwhile, my buddies who work concrete 9 hours a day still can't afford healthcare. And Joy Behar's answer to them is to get a job. Yeah, let's not change our healthcare system so that we have universal care like every other developed country in the freaking world. Nah, let's just tell people to get a job and scapegoat workers and young people and say that they haven't worked hard enough for healthcare. They're lazy. You got to earn your insulin, you son of a bitch.
So that's the TikTok. I couldn't find the video I wanted to share, but I was like, I'll just pick a random video. I'm sure it's going to be good. So make sure you guys check out Midwestern Marx. Any last thoughts? No, I think I'll pass it. No, any last thoughts you have? Anything? All right, let's wrap up.
Thank you, man. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Tell you guys, we got banger after banger after banger after banger. This is what Nick and I is about. This is what Nick and I, banger after banger after banger. So Tuesday, guess who I'm having on? Q Anthony and Mene, our brother. This is the best time to have Q Anthony. Q Anthony been popping off. It's been a while since we had him on the show, a few months. Love having him on. He joined Tuesday. I still have Nico House scheduled on Thursday. Trying to remember my schedule. I went on a booking spree like 2 days ago. Like literally, Nick and I have booked for like the next few weeks. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna bring people who slept on. We building our bench up. We're building the squad together, and I'm going to be bugging you guys a lot because that's what I've been telling my people. I'm not bringing on anyone who's a shit lib. I'm not bringing anyone who don't have anything to say. I'm bringing on people who I believe are slept on in this space. People who can bring it, and that's what Nick and I are gonna be. You're gonna see Midwestern Marx a lot. You're gonna see my friend like Keaton from Do Distance. I saw Raw a lot. Lucy Blue Moon Red Wine. My brother at Nico House, who is killing that at Hotspot. Nico House is back streaming on YouTube. You guys need to check out our YouTube channel. He's back. He killing on Hotspot, so he's gonna be a regular on this as well. So Nick at Night Season 2 just getting started, and we building the big strong. So this is not gonna be the last time you guys see Midwestern Marx as well. So with that said, I'll be back on Tuesday. Actually, no, Monday, because Misty, our friend Comrade Misty, she joined us. It's been a while since we had on the channel as well. At 2024, I call all the homies up. All the homies got caught up this year. Like, bro, I need all y'all. So over the course of 2.5 years, we build this great community. So I want to feature and highlight as many of these kind of voices as I can. So thank you for coming on. I'll be back on next Monday with CJ and Comrade Misty. I think this is oh yeah, there you go. That's the new thumbnail CJ made. If you guys want to help support us, Patreon is a great way so we can pay graphic designers. Our former graphic designer Erin, she had a lot of stuff going on. She's still taking care of some personal stuff. So thank God for CJ for throwing this together for me. But anyway, I'll be back on Monday. I'll see you guys. Have a good one.